Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. That's a great word, transforming. Transform your business with iIntro. Well, it's a pleasure to be here with Plowman and the team from iIntro. To give you a little bit of background, Plowman was a member of my peer-to-peer learning program for recruitment directors in London some years ago. And he used to regularly get the 5 o'clock train or whatever it was, 5:30, down to London to be at that 4-hour session where we were, exposed to world-class business speakers and looking at improving our businesses. And along that journey, he showed me what he was doing with his own recruitment company, Grass Greener, and how he had changed that business from being a contingent recruitment company, essentially, to being fully retained. Not only that, to get full fee and higher fees the vast majority of the time. So he was doing something special. And he showed me some software he'd built. Anyway, that software in today's world is iIntro, which is very, very successful at helping businesses to win more business, to have more retained, secured business. And in today's world, really with Brexit uncertainty and so on, do you just want exclusive business, or do you want it to be cash in the bank in advance of even working on that role? So I know which one I would prefer if I had the choice, and I was confident I could fill that role. So then Plowman and the team over the last few years, I'd introduced them to a number of my clients, and the uptake of his software was phenomenal. So a number of businesses that I knew then ended up buying the iIntro platform, and Plowman's now taken that on to new levels with the capability to create your own MSP. So I'm excited to see what you're going to come up with today, Plowman. As you know, I'm a massive fan of retained business, and I know how close to your heart this is. So I'm looking forward to the session. Just had an email from Fiona, who's trying to access the session. She said the connection wasn't that good. So can I just check in the chat room, everybody? Can you hear all loud and clear? Yes, thanks, James. Okay, so that's Julie. Yeah, good. Maria. Okay, so it sounds like it's just one person who's struggling with that. So that may be a bandwidth issue at her end. By the way, in case you're wondering, I've been playing golf today, so I'm in my golf attire, ready for this session. But enough of me. Over to you, Plowman.
Well, Mike, thanks very much for the kind introduction. I'm a storyteller, so please forgive me, guys, attending this meeting, that if I share with you stories, I hope they'll be exciting and you can relate to these. So, where shall I start? 2007, I was approached by my son-in-law to be, at the time. His name is Paul Hickey, and he's the managing director and my partner in both ventures, Grass Greener and iIntro. And Paul said to me, would you help us set up a recruitment business? My background was not in recruitment up to that time. I've had a couple of businesses in the past which managed to build and exit, but essentially Paul was looking for someone to help with regard to a business venture. So I obliged. I learned a little bit about recruitment. I helped him set this business up, and off the went. By the end of 2009, this business had 14 employees, 11 fee earners, and 3 staff, support staff, management and support staff. So this business was trading on a contingency basis, 100%, with average fees of £7,100 and sub 17%. Me not being involved in recruitment, I came in operationally in 2009 and 2010. And my very first approach was common sense corner. Let's see who is doing business in recruitment and how are they doing it. Now, what I found when I studied our own business is that, firstly, the business operated on a contingency basis. I've told you about the average fees, etc. We were in a sort of generic vertical markets offering technical sales and senior management placements in some vertical market, but nothing specific, nothing too special. When we approached this business in that particular way, we felt that we're only doing 20% conversion rates from fill rate. So essentially, if I give you an analogy, you come to work on Monday and you work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You only get paid for Friday because the other 4 days you don't get paid. That's what typically contingent recruitment is. So my question was immediately, what is it we need to do to change that? When we approached it this way, it made complete sense to look at who else is doing business in recruitment and who else is doing retail. If you think of it, the best example of retail business is a tier 1 and tier 2 search firms. Now these firms charge 30 to 40% fees plus expenses, and they charge in some instances for their time. On top of that, depending on what else they need to do. So they're really making big money. And what's the difference between a contingent recruitment and a firm like that, apart from the reputation? The difference is that the quality of service delivery and the unique proposition that they put forward and how they do it. So my question was straight away, could we actually replicate or model ourselves or our business to this sort of business model? And so we did. So to cut the long story short, between 2000 and May 2010 to 2011 ends, some miracle things happened to us. So what really happened? We've increased our fees from £7,100 to short of £14,000. So we doubled our fees, 100% increase short of. What's also happened is we moved up in terms of seniority of engagement. We started to engage more senior positions. The next thing, which is probably the most important thing, is we changed our business from 100% contingent to 100% retained, and that's in a period of 18 months. In December 2011, we won the best search and selection firm in the UK, nominated for Specialism Excellence in Innovation by the Recruitment Business Awards. We've repeated this process in 2013, but we became finalists, a runner-up. Now, interestingly, I've noticed that one of the attendants of this meeting today is from a company that became the winner on that particular occasion. A company is called Amoria Bond, based in Manchester. Hello, Amoria Bond. So, long story short, at that moment, we thought, if we've done so well ourselves, it probably makes complete sense to extend this to setting up a separate business, which we did do. It's called currently traded under iIntro. It's Insights Out Solutions. And this business has been engaging in offering the same methodology, principles, and solution to our current clients. So far, the company has worked, our new company, iIntro, has worked with over 137 clients worldwide. Predominantly, our clients are here in the UK, but we've got clients, over a dozen clients in the US. If there is anybody from US, hello, the USA. Far East as well, but mostly here in UK and Europe. What's interesting also is that these clients have built in excess of £40 million of retail recruitment. They've won and delivered in excess of £40 million of retail recruitment using our process and our methodology. And typically, what happens is people increase their fees, they increase the seniority of the roles that they're engaging, they go from contingency to retained to the extent that they wish to do. So it's not a compulsory that you need to go 100% retail like we did. That was our choice. And also the productivity per consultant increases quite dramatically because you're no longer working, but only getting paid for Friday. You're getting paid for all the 5 days of the week because retail recruitment ultimately guarantees you receive payment for the work. So that's a brief description. But what I really want to talk about is not what we did. I want to share with you some concepts related to the current state of the recruitment industry and why is it important for everybody that's listening to this is to pay real attention because things are changing. And if you think of it, by the way, what you see here in the screen is my book, which I published at the end of 2007. It's called The Death of Contingency Recruitment. And by the way, at the end of this meeting, everybody that remains on this call will receive a book at no additional cost or no cost to you, even no podcast, but we'll send it to you anyway. So what we've noticed in the recruitment industry, three things happen. But ultimately, these three things are indications that our clients no longer value the service that we typically deliver, i.e. contingency recruitment. And what are the indications? The first indication is that there is a consistent reduction in recruitment fees over time. I use the Recruitment and Employment Confederation Trend Survey that gets published once a year, and the last year, 16.3% is the average fee in the industry. Now, there are years that you might get a little blip, but bottom line is that since 2008, fees have consistently reduced. The second challenge that we see is the in-house recruitment. Typical roles that were given prior a few years ago to recruiters are now going to in-house recruitment. And the reason for that is that clients are basically saying, we no longer value transactional CV supply service, which we can get anyway, because the social footprint of candidates these days is colossal. So they don't hide anymore. You don't have the black book that you can open and give to your clients with only one or two names that only you know about in the marketplace. Everybody's out there, and all our database is called now LinkedIn, plus some others. The third and the last element is the rise of technology and automation in recruitment. Now you can see currently all sorts of unique algorithms of identifying people and knowing what they do, matching them against jobs, etc. Now these three things that I've just highlighted, there's just some of them, there's loads more, but these three are the fundamental principle that basically tells us, or tells me at least, that the recruitment world is changing and clients are no longer happy to accept what we've been giving for a long time. Now, we've got two choices. Choice number one is for us to remain complacent because the market is still feeding us with some roles and do nothing. But with Brexit coming, the departure from Europe is coming very soon, and also the instability in the economy, which nobody can say the economy is booming. Ultimately, we're poised for another recession. When recession comes, I don't know what people on this call remember 2007 and 8 and 9, but I lived through it. We actually set up our business at the worst possible time. But in a way, a recession jolted in 2008, 40% reduction in the total turnover in the recruitment industry. Clients simply paused. So unless we do something to become a me-only recruiter or a value-add solution consultant, we are being threatened with extinction, or some of us are. Let me share with you how we look at recruitment. And just to reframe it, initially when we came up with our solution, our intro solution, we went to market, and Mike will tell you that, with great enthusiasm. We offered it to a number of clients that came on board. The absolute best clients that are still with us today have actually taken on our solution and developed a more modern, more structured and process-driven outcome from the software. So they've evolved in sales, in other things. Some others that didn't do that ultimately came up short or didn't do as well as some others. So what made the difference? The fact is that the people that took the opportunity to build the structure around the info software were the ones that won. We've learned that from that process, and as a consequence, we now have a total solution. But the way to reflect on this one, so you've got a sort of a relevant point of reference, is the way how we perceive recruitment. So recruitment these days is no longer a simple sales transaction or a supply delivery transaction. It involves a lot of things. And the first one is to know how to recruit your own people. That means that you need to look at how they're aligned culturally and what they do. The second one is the best operating systems within the industry. I've come across a lot of people that say, well, I've noticed that someone is using video and we'd like to actually buy a video because I think video will help us to remain unique and competitive. Well, forgive me for this language here, but that's bullshit. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses to actually have a solution, and knowing a strategy and having a strategy of your operating processes and then matching tools against it is absolutely key. The next one is one of my favorites, and that basically is being able to communicate with your clients with passion, excitement, and variety, but it needs to be value-add proposition. So no longer are clients happy to take a phone call from a salesperson to sell them recruitment services, and I'm sure that the audience will agree with me. Speaking to people these days, even though they might even know you, is very difficult to do. People prefer to come to you. So selling something to someone is no longer easy. You need to create a trusted authority audience around you that comes to buy from you when they're ready to buy. So knowing how to market and knowing how to position your voice and how to push yourself, your services to people that understand and the right people for you is absolute key. The next one is having a process and a skill set, as well as the tools to be able to business develop. If you think of it, creating, in other words, is creating a stress-free sales process that you enjoy as a salesperson, as a recruiter, as opposed to dreading to have to make 50 phone calls today to actually try and get someone to listen to you, that you can then offer your services, etc. So creating this process is very important. Mastery is something that never stops. And I'm sure that you remember this sort of recruiters that know it all, been around for 20, 30 years and will do nothing else to change because they know it all. So mastery is something that is consistently evolving. That's my favorite. Advocacy is building advocacy with your clients, creating a meaningful consultative relationship with your clients. And an advocate is someone that will buy from you all the time. And if you decide to do something different, they'll come and ask for your advice. So that's the sort of relationship we need to drive. And we know how these are created. The last one here is that in business, unless you're Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg, we need to make some money. So these are the 7 elements that we believe drive current and modern recruitment these days. And I hope the audience can associate to these or find them of interest, if not all, some of them. So as part of our transition and our learning, this year we've launched something called the Retained Recruiter Roadmap, which is a total solution that tackles every element that we showed you a moment ago. And what does Retained Recruiter Roadmap have inside? If you think of it, every element that you see here has, every challenge or every subject has a module. Now, delivering total solution to our clients is very important, even more important than the actual software itself or what it sustains. Now, today we've got a limited time. I won't be able to cover all these elements, but I'd like to show you a couple. The first one is the principles behind iIntro, or the iIntro solution, the iIntro service delivery. We call it the next gen, hiring methodology. What is that? Clients typically recruit with one objective: to choose the right person. Now, this sounds cliche, but how do you choose the right person? Now, the current process exists, and this is what typically recruiters do. Now, if you have a role, a recruiter will go out to market, will identify a bunch of candidates, they'll check their credential, employment history, their resume, and ultimately they'll carry out an interview. Based on this short interaction, they'll basically come up with a conclusion that is probably the right person or the wrong person for the role, and they'll send between 3 and 10 CVs to the client, depending on the seniority, of course. So that's the current process. We believe that's not enough. And for that purpose, we've added 3 additional dimensions to the recruitment process. And these additional dimensions basically outline the value-add service. If you think of it, everything in recruitment revolves around 3 things: time, people, and money. A good old friend that does training has actually told me that. I actually believe that's to be the case. So the first part that a typical recruiter will do, and I hope you'll all agree with me, will actually go to the orange part of the presentation, which is check credentials, employment history, do an interview. Some recruiters won't even do interviews. They'll just send the CV first to see if the client is interested, and then they'll go and see what happens next. But I'm sure that none of these people that are attending the meeting today, Mike, are doing anything similar to that. So behavioral profiling is the first thing that we do. In other words, we need to understand, we need to help the client understand what good looks like based on their expectations. Now, most of you, I'm sure, understand what behavioral profile and psychometric assessments are. We use this one as a fundamental part of our business delivery. So behavior is one. The next one is skill set assessments, or what we call the key competency assessments. These things are multiple questionnaires that enable the client and us, the recruiter, to find out and match the skill sets. And what we say to the client is that you might have a very long list of competencies that you may wish for this role, for this person that is hopefully to be appointed to possess. But it's very difficult to get everybody to complete with a large number. So what we're trying to do is to identify the top 20% of the key competencies that will determine 80% of the performance on the role. And we do this one in a process that is actually on our database, so the clients can select, or if they've got their own key competency framework, they can put it into the system. And last but not least, and which is basically the technology. So what's the technology? It's digital delivery, it's cloud-based, so it's very easy to access and secure. And most importantly, it still sits quite uniquely in the marketplace. There are lots of companies offering video solutions, offering behavioral assessments or other tools, but I don't know of any company. There may be some, I'm not suggesting we're the only company, but I don't know of any company that does this one collectively and does it in the way that we do it. So that's the fundamental principles behind iIntro. The principles that the technology is cloud-based, which means that it's white labeled, it's fully designed and bespoke, tailored for your own brand. It's cloud-based, secure access, and access 24/7, anytime, anywhere, on any internet-enabled device. But you would expect these days such things from technology, wouldn't you? And your clients expect this one from you. So what's next? There is some examples of front-end bespoke tailored solutions. Some of our clients say these things about us. We've got lots of very happy and satisfied clients. Just to give you an example, we've got 85% retention rates with our clients, and we've got over 3 years residual value per client. In other words, people that have joined our system and started to use it remain with us for quite a long period of time. And I just want to show you a statement of our very first client. Mike, you know Chris Dickinson. Chris is the managing director of a business called the Advocate Group that has 3 different businesses: Milk Education, Axis Recruitment, and the Advocate Group. These guys have signed up in September 2013. We didn't have the solution at the time, and they were on a prototype software. Now the solution has advanced ever since. In 2014, version 2.5 at this moment in time, working to launch version 3 of the software with new tech and new automation and new clever gadgets that will make the system even more intuitive and easy to use. use.
Plamen,
Yes.
the 4 quadrants you showed earlier, you know, I thought were really interesting because I saw some years ago a guy called Romney Rose, who was the founder of Select, and he built that business.
I know him, yes.
Yeah, he built that business to £3 million net profit in his 4th year of trading. So he's a smart guy. And he talked about differentiators. In fact, we filmed him talking about a series of differentiators that he used to position his business in a certain way and to get full fee. And they were all simple, clever things. And he said that sometimes the clients, you know, he said it was key to winning the account, but then they didn't actually ever talk about them again, some of these things. He said that sometimes the clients, it was more about, wow, you've got all these things. And that was the thing that clinched the deal. Now, I think with your tool, you look at those 4 quadrants, most people sit in that first quadrant, most people in recruitment, where it's just the CV, the interview, and somebody's opinion. And I think the thing that when I was talking to Chris about this, those, you know, 5 years ago, was that the key was that not just the retainer element, but being able to win business more easily and to be able to position it through the web, you know, where you've actually got something that appears to be unique. And I don't know if I told you this, Plamen, but one client told me they were messaging people through LinkedIn, target customers, and it was an HR director who they'd propositioned saying, we've got this key differentiator and this is what it does. And then they went along to see the HR director. The HR director then turned around at the end of the meeting, said, I love it. I want to work with you. By the way, when I saw this, to some degree, when I saw your message, I was looking forward to tearing a strip off you, but I couldn't. And so I think it kind of opened the door because it was different. And then the strength of the proposition then helped them to close the deal.
Well, Mike, that's very interesting observation. And what we've got planned in the next few slides will show you very specifically an example of how we business develop and how we position ourselves with one major objective to start with, and that's for the client to see us different. So, as I said to you, this is our total solution, and I've just shared with you conceptually what the iIntro platform is. My suggestion would be is if anybody wants a personal consultation that takes into account a specific, their own specifics, at the end of the meeting, I would recommend that everybody comes online and books a meeting with me at the next available opportunity. I'm doing this for your people that are listening today at no cost. So essentially, a full 1 hour consultation that will give you an outcome as to why we believe your business is where it is and what could potentially be changes and how you potentially can help this one will be available at the end of the meeting. So what I want to do I'm just mindful of the time, we've got approximately 15 minutes, just to pre-warn everybody, we might overrun by a little bit. I just want to take the chance just in case we do that. But what I'm about to share with you is very interesting. So the next thing that I want to show you is what we call the stress-free sales process. And once again, the word is, the underline is on the stress-free. And if you think of it, what's business development these days? You need to call the clients. And these clients, particularly from the client point of view, they get 10s, 20s, 30 phone calls, HR and line managers, from recruiters every week. And all these recruiters are saying the same old things, which they consider as USPs, i.e. they've been very long in the market, they understand the client very well, they've recruited for this sort of roles in the past, they've got the biggest database in the world, etc., etc., etc. To the client, this is noise, and you might as well not even bother saying it. With certain variations, because there are some, our clients perceive us as exactly the same. And I'll give you the analogy this way. What do you do for the client? I ask the clients' employers all the time, and they typically describe to me this. We've got 10 people on our or 10 companies on our PSL. Typically, for every assignment, we'll choose a specialist, and we'll give them our assignments, or we've got one assignment, two assignments, whatever they are. They'll go out there on a contingency basis. They'll run out and grab as many CVs as they can, and they'll bring them to us. Then we'll take over the CVs, and from this moment on, I don't need the recruiter within reason, apart from arranging appointments, etc. So the power of service is disappearing entirely from the hands of the recruiter. The recruiter now is just waiting and at the mercy of the client. And when I say at the mercy of the client, it will very much depend as to how sophisticated the clients are to select the best person, how committed the clients are to employ people and pay you a fee, because, and once again, I'm sure that people will know this one, is have you had a situation where a client comes back to you and says, I really like your candidate, but I've got exactly the same candidate from another recruiter, and he's only asking me for 12%, and you're asking me for 15% or 18%. Is there anything you can do for me? And you say, well, if they're going to place it, I might as well just back the fee. And because you're on a contingent, so you get a yes or a no, you might as well agree to a 15% fee, and you shake hands like you just bought a bag of tomatoes in the marketplace. That's not what it's all about. If recruiters, if you guys continue to deliver service on the basis of transactional recruitment, very soon you'll find yourself out of a job. And that's full stop. I'm saying this one with no uncertain way, and I apologize to anybody if anybody is offended by that. But that is the future of conventional CV supply transactional recruitment. So how do we change this? Here it is. We've created something called the recruitment process audit. So you need to position yourself as a unique authority in your market sector. And the way to do it is to explain to the client what you do. Now, if you go to the client and you say, I'm a recruiter and I'm looking to work on your vacancies, crudely speaking, please, they will see you as another recruiter that supplies similar services like everybody else, and the benchmark for the price of something like that is 18%. If you say to the client, I want you to retain me, and I want you to pay me 25%, they'll laugh at you, because they know that they can buy the service elsewhere for less money, the same or less money, and they can actually give it to lots of recruiters, which according to them makes sense. Well, when we go and when we teach our recruiters to do is when we go to see a client, what we'll do is we'll firstly change the introduction. Our introduction will be, we are a management consultancy that helps clients such as yourself, Mr. Employer, in their talent acquisition process with three main objectives. So we are a management consultancy that helps employers like you, Mr. Employer or Miss Employer, with three main objectives: time, people, and money. And in our language, this means considerable reduction of commercial downtime, improving your retention process, which is in all honesty the true measure of recruitment, and ultimately reducing your overall cost to hire. Not only do we help clients reduce their overall cost to hire, but also we provide them with service that chops down time and it gives them longer term, better quality candidates. So when you position yourself like that, ultimately the clients will be intrigued, at least, if not interested. So the next step is we need to, once again, if you think of it, clients have issues with retain because of bad experiences, because of lack of trust. And the only way you can actually gain trust is by applying some sort of emotional engagement or show evidence, show facts. So we've created something called the back hire calculator. Now, this back hire calculator is something that we've been doing for a long time, but we used to do it with pen and paper. So when we go to see a client, we'll say to the client, could we please evaluate your recruitment process? And I'll say how much you pay for this, how much you pay for that. And I'll put a tally and I'll say approximately the true cost of your current recruitment process is X. Then my next question will be is what their retention rate. We'll make some adjustments of calculation, we'll get the numbers. Until last year, I came across this report for all people that are members of the REC. they can go and get this one for free. It costs nothing. If you wish for me to provide you with additional information, please contact me after the meeting and I will send you the report. So what was this report about? It involved firstly 500 HR and industry professionals, industry leaders. And these people were essentially asked the questions, or a number of questions, as to what happens if you hire someone and they leave within the first 12 months. So long story short is we've created a calculator, and this calculator is called the bad hire calculator. That's part of the recruitment process, And the purpose of this bad hire calculator is to work out what is really costing for the client to calculate the cost of bad hire. So I'm going to show you a live example of the bad hire calculator. So remember what I said. I've asked the client to describe to me their recruitment service, and they have done so. Now, what I'll be asking the client is some specific elements. And so assume that you recruit for a company that typically recruits every year 30 people. So I'll just ask the client, what is the total number that you recruit on average every year? Now, the numbers could be lower, but essentially what we're trying to do is to demonstrate. So for the purpose, we'll just put 30 people here, please. Now, the next question is, do you have any attrition, Mr. Client or Miss Client? And most clients will say, yes, we do. If they don't, then obviously you need to congratulate them, but there's very few that exist. Now, my question will be, out of these 30 people, how many are still in employment after a minimum period of 12 months? And the typical number is about 70 to 80%. So let's be generous to this client and go that they've got 24 people still remaining in employment. So they've only lost 6 people in the first 12 months. My next question is, what's the typical salary? And I'll put, say, 50,000 average salary per employment. And my next question is, how long do you keep these people before you either determine that they're not right for you or they leave? So the client might go 3, 6, 9 months. Let's go for 7 months. And my next question is, what is the typical recruitment fee that you pay for this sort of service, Mr. or Miss Client? And they'll say 18%. So here are the numbers that the clients have actually provided to me. 30 people, 24 still in employment, so they've only lost 6 people. In some industries, by the way, the attrition rates are terrible. The recruitment is probably a good example of that. 50,000 average salary, 7 months and 18%. So let's click calculate. I'll put my name, or just as an example, and there's a test here, and it's my colleague here will just fill this in quickly. And then we'll click calculate. Now, I've done the first step, and the first thing that the clients will see is this number of 80%. Now, that's obvious. So congratulations, Mr. Client, you're currently recruiting on 80% retention. By the way, this is better than what CIPD teaches in their curriculum. If you actually look and search online for let me just see what the physiology was, predictive validity in assessments, you will find a PDF report that gives you a list of all the things that one can do in recruitment to assess. And the academic input of this research suggests that if you do everything in recruitment, you can get 0.7 coefficient of 1. In other words, they're saying that people are expecting 30% margin for error. So we're more generous here to this client. We've given them 20% margin for error. And here is the impact to them. Now, bear in mind that these numbers are not your numbers. These numbers are coming from the algorithms and the assumptions that have been taken as part of the survey. By the way, if you want to test this one, let me give you a website. You go to badhire.net/demo. If you actually go to this site, you can put your own numbers in and you can pull this report, and you'll get the report instantly emailed to you so you can see what the calculations are, and how they've been calculated, because there is a narrative behind it. But for the purpose of time, we've got only 5 minutes plus the ones that I've kindly asked for from you guys. I'll be saying to the client, you've got £423,000 in direct costs, i.e. money that comes out of your pocket to support your current recruitment process. I'll ask the clients how they feel about it, perhaps even suggest that good, bad, or indifferent. Most clients, if not all clients, will say they feel bad about it. I said, if you feel bad about it, let me share with you some additional information, and that is the fact that there is indirect costs, as you can see them here. Once again, I won't go into the details, I'm mindful of time, but please fill one of these, backhire.net/demo, and you can get the report automatically generated for you. Yeah. So it's www.backhire.net. Oh, sorry, my colleague is waiting to say that there is no www, just backhire.net/demo. Thank you, James. So my discussion with the client is now different. I've just demonstrated to this client that the current process of recruitment is costing them between 900 and £1 million. So my question to the client will be, if you feel bad about it, and as I said to you, a consultancy that helps dramatically reduce costs, would you like to know what the actual cost is if you decide to employ us, or what it might be? Obviously, these are assumptions. It's important to say these are no numbers set in stone. These are based on generic assumptions. But bottom line is that that's what I'll be saying to the client. So on the basis of a new recalculation, using exactly the same algorithms and formula, what you see is if you move your client from 80% to 96%, ultimately you will see a saving all the way to as much as £700,000. So if the client is currently costing, if the client is spending £900,000 in direct and indirect costs for the back hires with us, by reducing the retention, by increasing the retention, the client will actually save a dramatic amount of money, which is as much as 45 years, £700,000. I won't go into too much detail of that, but once again, backhire.net/demo, and I can send the report back to you.
Flaman, I think
it's an automatically generated report, so you will receive it straight away.
Flaman, I think it's absolutely brilliant, and you look at meeting
on behalf of all your audience.
Meeting a manager, me face to face years ago. I'm asking questions to uncover where the problems are. Out of the last, how many people have you hired in the last year? How many are no longer with you? Why did they leave? And so on and so on. What you've really brilliantly done here is build technology to do that in the blink of an eye, underpinned by research, real research from the REC, which you can substantiate in front of them and show them the report. So if those numbers appear in any way high to the employer, you can easily show them the facts that sit behind that through the research.
Correct.
So it's very clever.
And just to add to this, Mike, think of the difference. A recruiter that's contacted a client, can I please work on your vacancies and with this and this and this? Or a management consultant that comes to the client and says, I can save you time, I can help you improve your recruitment process, and I can save you as much as that much money. I absolutely guarantee that there is very few clients who will ignore you.
Yeah. Well, the early pitch of RPOs, MSPs revolved around,
yes,
I can save you £1 million a year in recruitment fees. Sorry, £1 million a year in terms of your recruitment costs. And then they go in and prove it to them. So I guess what you're linking here is that this could take a recruitment firm down the pathway of creating their own MSP. Would I be right?
Well, very good point. If you just think of it, a normal recruiter will go out and say, can I please work on your vacancy that is currently available? What I'm saying to the client is that, would you like to save £700,000, yes or no? If the client says, yes, of course we want to save £700,000, In order for you to do that, just move it up to the top, please. In order for you to do that, you need to engage me for the next 12 months and recruit the next 30 roles that I currently have. So the pitch is already set for a bigger piece of business. And please don't panic if you're a sole trader or you're a very small micro recruitment business. We have pitched and won multi-vacancy recruitment business from clients. We're currently delivering one, we're pitching for another one. The first one is worth £500,000, £400,000 to us. We've delivered in 10 months over 20 odd vacancies, and we've got now extension of the contract for the next 12 months to actually deliver the same. The whole process becomes easier. Once you've won the business, once you've won it on a retained basis, it's very comfortable for business owners to go out there and find the right recruiter that can come in and work for you, even on a contract basis, to fulfill a managed service contract or a mini RPO like these are. But essentially what I'm saying to you is that we have a process that enables you very powerfully to engage with your client as someone who is a me-only recruiter as opposed to a me-too recruiter. That's the biggest key here. Unique selling point, and there's genuinely one that exists. Makes sense, I hope, to everybody.
Yeah, Plowman, just to interject as well, last month at my Pinnacle Club, we filmed a speaker called Mark Lee. And Mark was the founder, the initial driver of setting up Reed's RPO solution. And he built it 25% year-on-year growth for about 4 years or so. Big success story. Then he was headhunted by Corn Ferry. And Corn Ferry then set up Future Step, which was their RPO solution. And he was with them for six or 7 years, 25% year-on-year growth. But here's the interesting thing. He said that if you have an RPO solution, and this is verging towards that with MSP, RPO, in the same kind of phraseology, he said your exit multiple when you sell the company will not be 5. It will be in the region of 10 to 20. And what James Caan did with Alexander Mann was essentially that, a massive multiple. So, I think, it's in the mix. And what it seems to me is if you could get more committed business like this, if you're making $1 million net profit in X years' time and you're selling for 10 million rather than 5 million, this could be potentially a help to that. Is that how you see it?
Absolutely, entirely agree with you. The future of recruitment is not single transactional relationships. The future of recruitment is more consultative outsourcing with specialist recruiters that can do the work, that provide system, process, and structure. Clients don't want to know what you do. They want to know that the job will be done right and it can be taken care of by you as a firm that offers a total solution. So total solution is the buzzword for me for 2018 and beyond. And every recruiter that works out there needs to consider, how do I compare against something like that? And am I offering the still old-fashioned process of knocking on people's door or making phone calls and asking me if they could please work on their vacancies because of A, B, and C? Not important anymore. This is noise. If you go to the client and you offer a process-driven, structured solution that has a risk reversal, that's also very important. In order to get people to bypass this issue of trust, you need to create a solution that they can feel, touch, evaluate, not only just promises or something that they've heard before. And in addition to that, you need to give them a risk reversal. We and our community of INTRO recruiters offer up to 12 months free replacement at zero cost to the client. Now that's a major USP. Some of you might be panicking, thinking, well, how can that work and why is that happening? Bottom line is, we know that if we've got 96% retention, our risk factor is only 4%. And I actually don't hand it over to clients. I will upsell it. Our minimum fees in processes like that to start benchmark point is 25%. Our average fees are 25%. Last year we did one assignment with a client that we've never met before that was worth 90,000 euros, one single placement. And they came through our marketing process. Then we've positioned our pitch. It's a US client. We positioned our pitch on the basis of our methodology and concepts. They've agreed to take it on. We've signed the retail recruiter. They paid us £25,000 up front. They paid us £25,000 when we delivered shortlist. Now think of it. A retail recruiter gets this sort of money for assignments like that. If you're a contingency recruiter, firstly, they'll never allow you to work on this role. But secondly, even if you do work on this role, you don't know whether you're going to get paid or not, because there may be other recruiters delivering the same thing. And to do a good job, you genuinely need to actually engage the client properly and make sure that you've got sufficient time and effort to deliver these sort of assignments. So lots more. I'm mindful of the time that we finish. And just to show you, I'm not going to share with you the solution tonight. If anybody wants to see the technology, please go ahead and book a convenient time in your diaries, and there'll be hopefully a widget, something out there that will show you. If you click on it, it will allow you to go and book straight away. If you don't know about it, my contact details are first. Well, I'll give you my mobile number, so feel free to give me a call because it's easier to remember. It's 07969 00 0000. That's 07969 000 000. And one last thing, just for the benefit of everybody, if anybody decides to become a client of iIntro as a consequence, direct result of this introduction, I've promised Mike that I'll give everybody preferential terms. Now, I won't go into the detail of pricing. I can discuss this one personally with everybody, whoever is interested, but I will offer 30% off our pricing structure for everybody that comes and follows up a meeting with me straight away after this meeting. I book a meeting and then ultimately decides to become a client.
So thank you, Plowman. That's very kind of you. And for anyone who wants to follow Plowman, he's very prolific on LinkedIn. So I'd recommend you connect with him. And for what it's worth, you know, Plowman and I have got to know each other very well over the last 6 or 7 years. We have had the odd round of golf every now and then. He's better than me, I'm afraid, but I'm trying my best to catch up. And he's one of the most ethical, trustworthy, honest people I've come across in the industry. So I want to say thank you for the insight. I love the bad hire calculator. I think it's tremendous. What a sales aid that is. And how clever it is to lead people down the pathway that the solution to their problems is to spend a lot of money with you. So unless there's anything else to add, Plowman, are we ready to wrap up?
Thank you. Think total solution. 2019 is the time when people will offer total solution services to your clients. That makes the difference.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining, everyone. Does anyone have any questions before we close off? If so, pop them in the chat room.
No, I'll leave this open until everybody exits, so people can click on the book your demo now, or pick up any information that's required. So backhire.net/demo. Book your demo upstairs, up there. That's the backhire calculator to try it. Any questions? Feel free to give me a call.
Okay, Plowman. There's a question coming in the chat room. Where can we get Plowman's book?
Oh, by the way, if anybody that's attending this webinar, they just need to send me an email or reply to the email that you sent to them, informing them of the webinar, and I will then obtain their details in terms of where they want the book sending.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions before we wrap up?
No?
Nothing coming in. So once again, Plowman, thank you, and I'll sign out.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate. Good to talk to you soon.
Okay, cheers. Bye now.
Bye-bye.